So, welcome to the next edition of the Rare Business Podcast. With me today, I have David Kalt, who is the CEO and founder of Reverb.com. Hi, David. How you doing?
Excellent, Adrian. Thanks for having me on your show today.
You're very welcome. Now, David, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the work that you do?
Sure thing. Let me start with Reverb.
Okay.
Reverb.com is an online marketplace. Reverb.com is an online marketplace for musicians. It's really designed for them to buy, sell, and learn about new, used, vintage, and handmade music gear. In less than 4 years, Reverb has already grown to one of the most popular music gear websites, and we work every day to ensure it's truly the best place to buy and sell your gear. At any given time, the site has roughly 500,000 to 600,000 listings, ranging from electric guitars, acoustic guitars, studio gear, effects, pedals, synthesizers, drum equipment, DJ equipment, orchestra, band, and orchestra instruments. And so it's a very rich experience with lots and lots of inventory, lots and lots of music gear. As for me, I started my career in the music industry as a recording engineer before discovering that along with my passion for music, I also had a passion for software.
Right.
I started and sold my first software company called ClientBase in the 90s. And then in the early 2000s, a few partners and I founded a company called Options Express. It was an online broker we created focused on trading of options for retail investors. We took the firm public in 2005 and ultimately it was sold to Charles Schwab back in 2010 for a little over $1 billion. That's when I came up with the idea for Reverb. I was trying to buy and sell guitars and gear affiliated with a music store that I had acquired called the Chicago Music Exchange, a very well-known music store. And I was very, very frustrated with the experience on eBay and other online channels in terms of music gear. So in 2013, based on this frustration and this opportunity I saw, we launched Reverb and really exclusively focused on the online marketplace for musicians in search of an easy and affordable and safe way to buy and sell gear. Since we've launched, I've worked side by side with my team to ensure that Reverb's the easiest place, great user experience, and a community that enables musicians to expand their sound and make great music all over the world. And it's a very exciting time for us at Reverb.
That's excellent. I guess I have to make sure that I'm going to have to tell my my brother about this, your site. He probably knows about it already because he's a musician. He has his own band. It's a band called the Cinematic Orchestra. I don't know if you've heard of them. But
cool.
So I'll have to mention it to him to make sure that he's aware of it because he's always interested in sort of new and different types of kind of gear, just as he experiments with different sounds and things. But anyway, back to the topic of the podcast. The thing people might be thinking, ooh, so musical instruments and online exchanges and your experience and things, and they might be thinking, well, what's the relevance here? Well, let me sort of explain to our listeners and readers. I mean, I write a lot about the customer experience, but I often express like a degree of frustration about how there's this difference between customer experience and the customer's experience, and how these things can sometimes be connected. But we were talking before, and you were telling me a little bit about how you approach that and how you kind of, if you like, close that gap through something you do called the contest, which is something you do internally around sort of closing that gap between the customer experience and the customer's experience. So can you tell me a little bit more about it and the reasoning behind starting it?
Absolutely. So we started the contest just under a year ago, and it was a way to really ensure that employees, particularly new employees, were getting plenty of one-on-one time with our platform, and our customers as both a buyer and a seller. So imagine this ecosystem of thousands of buyers and sellers, and our employees weren't organically a part of that. So that was the primary objective. So
okay.
Every 5 weeks during our all company stand-up meeting, we ask for 10 volunteers across all departments. Once the contestants are selected, we give them each $1,000 into their Reverb account, and we challenge them to buy and sell as many guitar pedals as they can in 5 weeks. Aside from this time limit, we really don't have any rules. We just make suggestions and we sort of set them off. We encourage employees to buy from new users to show them a nice first experience. And we've been doing this. We've probably had around 7 or 8 contests in the last year and a half. And it really, the contest didn't exist from the beginning. It only existed as the company grew to a size that I couldn't instill that customer-driven experience in every person. So I needed a tool. And this contest has really served as a powerful utility for the company.
Okay, so I have 2 questions on that. I mean, one is that you deposit money into their Reverb account so they can trade on that and sort of use that. But so I've got 2 questions. One is it just for guitar pedals, or is that your test case because that's where you do the most sort of trading? And the second question is, do employees benefit from this? Is there like an incentive structure that goes with it, or do they get to any money that they make? Do they get to keep it, or how does that all work?
It's a great follow up. First we did limit it to pedals and small effects, so it's not just guitar pedals, but it's basically electronic gear that can fit in a reasonably small box because some of the complexities of shipping larger musical instruments and packing and dealing with potential issues with an instrument's playability would be very time consuming. So we wanted to find products that were very minimal time consuming, and also we wanted a certain price points.
Right.
So that's why effects and guitar pedals makes sense. So we do have that constraint around what they buy and sell. It wasn't initially that way. It actually evolved into that as we learned from it. As far as incentives, we really want the approach that they're not in it to necessarily make money, because what happens is if you try and make too much money, you won't buy and sell enough. You'll be focused on trying to find stuff that's very underpriced, and then you might sit on it too long. So what we're trying to incent is turns.
Right.
Because the more the people use the platform, the more they'll be able to improve upon it and actually be more impactful to our business. So the winner is the person who actually buys and sells the most while not losing any money. So they need to break even, and they need to have the most amount of turns. And then there's an incentive for the first place and the second place, $1 incentive, or it's around $1,500 for a winner.
Okay, cool. And sort of I guess the next thing is that you've got people involved in doing this, and sort of like, if you like, trading on your own platform, and what I guess the next thing is about, so what are the 2 things? One is, what is the business benefits that you've seen come out of this, and can you give me a sort of a couple of examples of things that have been identified that has allowed you to make some sort of changes, so to make it sort of real for our listeners and readers, just so that they can go, they can sort of imagine kind of how a practice like this might actually make sense in their own business, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, firstly, all of our employees, regardless of what department they sit in or their title, they get to experience the platform exactly as the customer does. So there's a huge difference between sitting in a conference room and talking about what you think customers need, and actually using the platform, seeing exactly where the pain points are. So that's like the first and kind of most critical reason for it. The employees in the contest are often first to spot issues. We've got dozens of examples of problems or bugs that seems minor until one of our employees experience it. And as a buyer or seller, it's no longer minor when you start to see something repetitively that might have been overlooked when a customer reported it. When an employee reports it, it's like a blemish, and we act on it more seriously, which makes our platform more polished.
Yeah.
And then it works the other way as well. I mean, some truly incredible tools and tips have surfaced from this conference. We would benefit from the fact that employees with all different backgrounds and areas put their talents to use to buy and sell pedals. So, for example, like our lead graphic designer, He won the contest one month, and he was taking, if you looked at why he won, we really think it was because he took beautiful photography. He really took his images and his descriptions very seriously, and overall he created a great experience, and at the same time was able to sell more gear. Then when you take our software developers, on the other hand, they tend to go using tactics such as leveraging back-end data or building mini apps to find opportunities, which is a little sort of giving them a little bit of an edge by kind of using analytics and data. In addition to uncovering, great practices and developing new seller tools, the contest gives our employees real face time with customers. See, because it's a community, it's not just using the platform, they're actually interacting with customers. They're buying gear from customers and they're selling gear from customers as individuals, not as Reverb, but as an individual who works for Reverb. And we can then make sure that our customers are at least getting a great experience because people who they're interacting with wear a Reverb hat.
And so, actually, can I ask you on that? So, because it's interesting that you've highlighted how you're having your employees act as sort of customers on your kind of platform, but what they're also doing is leveraging their internal or sort of professional skills that they conduct for the company, but also maybe other sort of skills that they might be developing on their own. So basically, it's bringing everybody's bringing slightly different things to it. So I guess my question is there a learning kind of process that goes within this? I.e., do the winners kind of do a bit of a talk or a debrief on kind of what they've done to help them achieve the win or the kind of the top two placing?
Yeah, I mean, the in our weekly stand-up, what we do is we kind of report how the various contestants are doing, and there's like this a little bit of internal rivalry, and people can kind of see who the front runners are, and they do start to sort of, it becomes a little obvious some of their techniques and some of their tactics, and it's healthy competition. I mean, clearly. The incentive is at the right point where it's not distracting people from their core work, but it's healthy in the sense that people are learning from each other and sharing of the insights that they're garnering from it. It could even be related to a new release because since we're putting new features and functionality out, today's contest is very different than the one a year ago because we've built and improved upon this platform, a lot of it because of the contest. So it's kind of this evolving organic experience.
I guess also kind of what you probably are able to do is also take some of the learnings that you're getting from your employees and their experience on the platform as traders to also, I guess, to publish sort of best practice kind of guidelines or top tips for your other sellers on the platform. So you're actually kind of giving your customers, if you like, the real customers, that your best tips or your best insights, your best sort of knowledge in terms of kind of how they can get the most out of the platform. So, for example, the quality of the photographs, etc., that you've makes a big difference because you've learned that through your lead graphic designer.
Exactly.
Excellent. So, I mean, the other thing that I wanted to do, rather than just getting the away from the customer's experience and things, is that it, has this had an impact internally on terms of how engaged your employees are with your whole platform, the business, kind of the way you do business, how and how the impact that they can have on changing the business for the better. I mean, are you monitoring the kind of employee engagement through this kind of process?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the objective. To really monitor it is challenging. I mean, all of our employees really understand. I mean, this is a customer product driven business. We are really, really focused on customer service from the beginning and building a great customer experience through our technology and our platform. So all of our employees really understand that, and they're pretty passionate about delivering that level of exceptional customer experience. And we encourage them to work proactively and collaboratively, thinking about customer needs. And the contest gives employees a direct and instant opportunity to do so. So, I mean, for a new employee, absolutely. The contest gets them started and gets them kind of, drinking the Kool-Aid of our culture. But I can't stress enough, I mean, the benefits of encouraging all employees, regardless of the title, to interact with customers, because around 40% of our staff is in the business of customer engagement. So
Right.
that's what they do. By making the context company wide, what we do is we actually make certain that everyone, even if it's not directly part of your job title, has a connection with what our business is about. And I find that so many companies today, as they have specialization, you know, you have so many different technologists and data scientists and marketing people and people sort of working around the business, but not really understanding where the customer interacts with the business. I'm trying to alleviate that. So the best decisions get made company-wide because everyone really understands how we make every dollar we make.
Sure. Okay. And I mean, are you also experiencing the situation where some people will get started on the contest or get involved in the contest, and once it's kind of finished, regardless of where they get to in the standings, that they just decide I'm going to continue doing this, and they end up becoming both employees and also customers at the same time?
Absolutely. It's a little bit of the reverse as well. I mean, a lot of the people that we hire are actually using the platform before they've even come and interviewed here. Around 80% of our staff is musicians. So we do have this kind of natural use of the platform. What the contest does is for those people that have loosely used the platform, it kind of puts it on steroids. So now all of a sudden they're really, really engaged and they can see the platform under a microscope. So we don't discourage people from, you know, buying and selling gear. Since we're all musicians, we want to encourage that.
Yeah.
And it is nice, sort of like water cooler conversation when you hear people talk about something they bought or something they sold and they had a great Reverb experience, and the contest does kind of promote that sort of you know, using the platform, you know, that you know, where you work, you know.
Okay. And so moving away from sort of Reverb, but still reflecting on your experience, if I was to say to you, I mean, I love the idea that you've got your own employees, if you like, testing your business. But if I was to ask you to give some tips or advice to some other people or business owners or kind of professionals, executives that are thinking about how they can apply some of the things that you're doing, the sort of testing of their business, getting their employees involved in that, I mean, what would you say to them? Where would you sort of advise them to start to get going on implementing a process like this or an initiative like this in their own business?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is, as I've kind of said a few times, is really don't limit it by department. It's really easy to take a product and say, oh, it's really important for these employees. That's less important for these. That's the number one lesson is by making it company-wide, you actually encourage departments to collaborate, which I think is a huge benefit. And I think it actually gives you many different perspectives than you would get if you sort of limit the contest. So that's one. Second is don't be afraid to fail. I mean, we invest $1,000 per contestant, and we don't always make that money back, but we look at it as an investment in both that individual and an investment that the rewards that we get from some of these contestants is huge in terms of developing new technologies, new features, as well as just the number of customer experiences that we can enhance because of that. And then encourage, the third thing is I really encourage like proactive problem solving, right? So if an employee sees an issue with your platform or product, don't just report it, like really own it, like come up with a solution, maybe even fight for that solution across departments to make sure that it gets resolved and fixed over time, and really giving people a voice, right? So that's the kind of culture that we have here, and that's the kind of culture that I want to always be striving for, where employees have a voice, they're coming up with solutions, and it's a really innovative company in that regard.
Fantastic. So that's brilliant. I mean, David, is there anything else that you think we've missed that you'd like to kind of add before I ask you a couple of just final sort of wrap up sort of questions?
Yeah, I mean, you know, our strategy for a great experience, right? I mean, a lot of companies use the term, great customer experience, and that's overused. But we really live that, and making it easy to buy and sell music gear online is really our number one objective. When we think about what we as musicians, how we want to buy gear, and how we want to integrate that functionality into our site every day. We constantly have one eye toward innovation, and we're constantly working with our users to learn what features we need to develop. We built our price guide because of customer feedback, help users better understanding how to price their gear and what it's sold for historically. In addition, we're trying to foster a community. So we encourage open communications between buyers and sellers. We're constantly amazed by the wisdom and the insight and the kindness that members of our community share with each other. And we couldn't foster this without this contest and getting our employees really in that feedback loop. And then we encourage collaboration. So the contest, everyday work, we hold weekly meetings where the entire company gets together to share successes, discussing roadblocks, hearing from coworkers how we can build a better platform. We continue to do that even as we continue to outgrow our small conference rooms.
Right. I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, so let me ask you a couple of just kind of final questions. So, in April of this year, I just published a book with kind of Pearson's called How to Wow, and what I've been doing over the last couple of months is asking people that I've been speaking to just a couple of questions just to get their perspective. And the first one I want to ask is, so from your perspective, from David Kaltz and Reverb.com's perspective, what is Wow service or experience to you?
You know, I receive, a lot of customer feedback and loop. And to me, like, the wow experience occurs when a customer feels like they're buying from their best friend. And in their mind, they view Reverb as a company and a platform that really gets them and understands them. There's this emotional connection, right? So to me, the wow is figuring out, and because we're musicians and we love, sparking emotion, yeah, that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to spark that emotion, because wow is a big deal in customer service. Like, there's a lot of good customer service out there, but wow is like, these are people that will defend Reverb, that will go out and promote it, and they become your best form of marketing, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's several things you can focus on. One is, I'm a techie, so I definitely focus on the data. I mean, technology is an amazing tool when it can create a better experience for the customer. So we study customer behavior, and we look to find ways to improve the experience around that. Knowledgeable team members, right? Each member of our customer engagement, like, if it starts at the top, but the message isn't all the way down to the frontline employees, you're not going to have that wow. And you have to, as a leader of your business, you have to be repetitive and over again, work with your team members so everyone can do the elevator pitch as well as the CEO. I really believe in that with all of my businesses. And then content. One reason that customers continue to return to our site is because we're constantly trying to push new items on them. We're giving them interesting stories. And when someone reads a story or someone learns about a piece of gear in an interesting way, that becomes indelible in their brain and your brand. And content is really, once again, giving that emotional context to create a wow experience.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great insight, great tips, great advice. So, David, that brings me to my final question that I always ask at the end of these interviews. And the question is this: is there anything that you would like to shamelessly plug?
Oh, Adrian, that's a good one. Well, we recently launched a new business called Reverb Lessons.
Okay.
And Reverb Lessons is a marketplace. It's a marketplace for instructors and students to come together. So if you want to take voice lessons in Des Moines, Iowa, and you want to find a great voice instructor, you go to reverblessons.com, and we have instructors in every major market: voice, guitar, piano, bass, saxophone, and you can find a mentor. And just like people, love personal trainers and people that can, get them more fit. If you want to grow musically, you really need some good mentorship, and that's what Reverb Lessons is all about. We're very excited about that, and it's just a nice extension of everything that we do in the musician world.
Perfect. David, that sounds awesome, and I'll make sure when I get this all edited up and written up, that I'll give Reverb Lessons and the great work that you're doing at reverb.com a big shout out. But just wanted to say thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing your insights and your experience. I think that's been brilliant. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it again. We'll talk to you soon.